Thinking about building a new home or purchasing a new build? Here are the pros and cons. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kelly Wilen. I'm a real estate agent in Minneapolis, St. Paul with Keller Williams. And if you've been thinking about building your own home or purchasing a new build, you're going to want to stay tuned. Here are some pros and cons to think about when you're making your decision. So kicking it off with the pro list, first and foremost, when buying or building a new home, most often we think about designing our own, right? And in designing our own home, you get to pick out the layout, you get to pick out the fixtures and the finishes. Everything is to your liking. And so you can design your own home from scratch that will meet the needs of you first and foremost. And so that is going to be the biggest pro. The second pro is whether you are designing your own home or buying what is called a spec home. So that is a finished home by a builder, but is still a new build. Everything is going to be new. Mechanicals throughout the home, everything will be brand new. It'll probably save you a lot of repairs in that first year. Anything you do to the home is just going to be for aesthetic reasons. The third pro, and this is a big one, is that in Minnesota, all new builds come with what is called a 1-2-10 warranty. So for 1 year, everything is covered as far as materials and workmanship. For 2 years, you're covered on all systems. And for 10 years, you're covered in structural. Another big pro of a new build is it's going to be more energy efficient. With gas prices going up, electrical prices going up, you're going to save some money in that regard as far as maintaining the heat in your home and the air conditioning. You're not going to be losing as much heat and air conditioning in the hot and cold months. And last but not least, this can be a major pro depending on where you are in your life. So a lot of new builds are covered by what is called an HOA or a homeowners association. And depending on where you build your home or buy your home, the HOA may cover everything from lawn care to plowing in the winter. Some HOAs cover more, some HOAs cover less. And depending on what your HOA covers, that's going to affect what you pay out of pocket monthly for the HOA fee. So we talked a little bit about the pros of building a new home or buying a new home. So what are some of the cons? Well, probably the biggest con is you are more often than not going to be building or buying in a new neighborhood. And depending on when you build or purchase your new home in a neighborhood, it may be the beginning of that neighborhood. And so you may not know who your neighbors are going to be, or there may be a lot of construction going on. So you're going to have to think about how that is going to affect your life. Is the construction noise going to disrupt you on a day-to-day basis? If so, it might be something you want to consider buying in an existing neighborhood. The second con is it's going to limit your areas of being able to move. So depending on the builder you want to use, the location you want to live, a lot of new builds are going to be on the perimeters of cities and towns. And so if you're looking to move into a major city, it's going to be a lot harder to have a new build. The third con is supply chain issues, and this is not as big of a thing now as it was a couple years ago, but it can delay the finishing or the completion of your new build. And so if you're on any sort of time constraints on when you need to move and you have any sort of supply chain issues, it can cause a big hiccup in your move. And so that's just something to be aware of when you're looking at the time frame, making sure you have a little bit of a buffer if need be to account for any sort of disruptions in your schedule. And last but not least, because you are building in a new neighborhood, you're going to want to think about the time frame that you want to live in that home. Chances are resale is going to take off a little bit slower, or you're building equity a little bit slower than you would in an existing neighborhood because there are new projects coming up. And so should someone be looking to move into the neighborhood, unless they're on any sort of time constraints, they're probably also going to be looking at a new build rather than an existing home. And so if you're thinking of maybe having to sell in a couple years, you may want to reconsider purchasing in a new build area. So there are some pros and cons to building a new home or buying a new home. If you have any questions or want to know what's best for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here as a resource. And thank you so much for tuning in.